So today we are going to talk about one of the instruments we use mostly these days, which are the cubes.
The cubes. Well, the first thing I think about is when we choose to work with cubes. It should be aesthetic and look very good on stage.
Yeah, because previously instruments we built have been very much about lots of computers, lots of cables, you see all the techniques and all the potentiometers, sensors and stuff like that. And this is kind of the opposite.
Yeah, nothing should be seen.
I think we from the beginning had this idea about making the cubes white and have a video projection on them. I think we had that in our mind, even though we didn't realize it from the first version.
Yeah, we had that thought.
And the thought was also that the projections on the cube should be synced to what we were playing on the surface. So when we perform a piece, you get the visual feedback as well as what you hear at the same time. So we can enhance sounds that we perform with moving graphics on the cubes. So they're very expressive both visually and what you hear.
And the tactile, when you push the knobs, you feel it through the fabric.
The top is kind of special to us.
Yeah, we didn't want the instruments to be seen, so we had a white fabric above the launch pads, and it was hard sometimes to even see where all the knobs were if they didn't light up all the time. So
if you're outside doing a gig in daylight, it can be really difficult to see the lights at the top.
Yeah, like when we were in Gotland, Visby, and played a piece of mine, Futuristica, outside in the garden, and the sun was shining, and it was very hot. And then it was very hard to see which knobs were lighting up or anything at all. Even if you feel it, then it was very hard.
Yeah, but it was really beautiful to see the white cubes with the projection, and you see the grass coming up from below.
Yeah, it was a cool picture.
Yeah. And you mentioned the tactiles, that it's really important to actually feel all these buttons to push to get a better feeling when performing the piece. I mean, we could have used iPads or touch screens instead, but that wouldn't have gave us the tactical feeling, which is really important for us in most pieces that we play.
It's true. It is one of the main reasons, actually. We have played many places around in Sweden with these cubes, and I especially remember when we were in the Levande julkalendern here in Gävle, and we were in lucka 1, number 1, and there were lots of people standing there waiting for us to play, and the wind was blowing pretty hard, so our clothes were flapping in the wind.
And it was in December, early December.
Yeah.
The 1st December, actually.
But I don't remember if it was that cold. I don't think so. I don't remember it anyway. And we had lights with every around us.
Yeah.
At Musikpaviljongen, it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, Musikpaviljongen. We performed Isotop and Ensamhet. one of the most fun pieces to play at these cubes with the push, I would probably say is the song called Isotope.
Yeah, which almost every gig is the first song we start with as well. Isotope is a piece that starts very subtle but very much low frequencies. Kind of a low frequency beat going. And we start by adding small strange sounds which are synced to the visuals on the cubes as well.
Yeah.
And as the beats go on, it's the beat starts building up, and we keep on adding these small squirky sounds or sometimes really large hitting booms as well.
Yeah, and it's all in black and white at the cubes.
Yeah.
Everything is black and white.
It is something magical about using just black and white projections on the cubes.
Yeah, I find that the most effectful and most beautiful as well.
We also did a gig in Trollhättan where we started the gig with Isotope, and then we also added a huge projection from behind. We went there to the gig place for one day before and just put up lots of fabric. I can't remember how many square meters, but maybe?
I don't know. Could it be 15, 18, 20?
Yeah, meters wide.
20 maybe.
Yeah, and pretty high as well, maybe 4 meters high.
I think higher than 4 meter.
Yeah, probably.
I think, yeah. It took hours, but it
Yeah.
was well worth it.
Yeah, we kept the night at the science center. We got the keys.
Yeah. Well, that's a gig I will never forget. I think it was one of the most memorable, and just because we were there all night preparing and building the stage and setting lights and projections and just everything around it. It was magical to walk around at night in an empty, big space with all the installations and...
We've always been very welcome to Trollhättan and got the confidence to perform at these kind of strange places and get access to these amazing venues, and really got we really got to choose ourselves where to perform these show, and it was kind of a festival during a whole night and evening. The whole town was out. It's called Blå natten.
Yeah.
Blue night.
Yeah.
The whole city is just walking out and looking at concert and art and installations all over the town. And we did this kind of installation performance, which was really magic for us to produce. One thing that is really special about these cubes is just the fact that it's just a clean look, and it looks so simple. When we just press some button, there comes a sound and there comes some visual. But actually we had to lab a lot to get these technique to actually work together, to get the video program to work together with the audio program and to make it sync in a proper way. And that's just kind of the beauty of these kinds of pieces, that when you perform it, it looks really, really simple. But before you get there, it's kind of a long way. And when we perform them on stage, it's not just putting the cubes and putting a projector and just press play. It's nothing all about that.
Never.
We have a very precise stage plot of where the cubes are going, where the fabric behind us are going to be placed, where we're going to place the projector, where the audience are going to sit, where we are going to place the front lights for our faces, what kind of lights the front lights should be. Everything is really, really precise, and you don't get to see that.
Yeah. True.
And it's really nice today that we have such an amazing kind of softwares that actually can map video to these surfaces in a very precise way. I mean, if we stand just 10 centimeters from the cubes, we can direct on the millimeter where the edges are going to be.
Yeah, and if there is some kind of light outside that line, you will see it on the fabric behind us, because it's black and it's white, so you see it right away.
Yeah, or if you happen to move the cube,
yeah,
then we're so fucked.
Or the stage is tilting somehow, and you're walking around and the cubes are moving a bit left or right, and then the picture is outside, and it could be a nightmare sometimes. Yeah.
So if you look at the stage, there will be some tapes marking exactly where the cubes are going to be, where the projectors are going to be, if something would happen. Which always is something that happens with these kind of instruments.
But it's the fun part as well. It's the reality. It happens.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun because the software we are using for the graphics is Grand VJ, Archeus Grand VJ. And it's not the most common software today for doing this kind of stuff, but actually Archeus was the name of the software that we once started with doing this kind of live graphic stuff for, I think it was 15, maybe 20 years ago. The software was called Archeus, now the company is called Archeus, but at that time this software could only project still images, and it could animate these still images in some way. So it was far away from the VJ culture that is today, or the motion graphics on stage as today with video servers and stuff like that. So the software is today a little bit unusual, but it's perfect for this kind of setup.
Yeah. It's reliable, very reliable, I would say. Well, the instrument we use under the surface of this fabric, this white fabric on top, it's called the launch pad, and we use Ableton Live, of course.
Yeah, and Ableton Live has become very much a good basic for these kinds of performances for us, because it's so flexible and we don't have to work with a timeline. We can work in real time, triggering different kinds of frameworks that we create.
And it's easy because we can sync them together, so it would fit and be very precise.
Yeah. That is so cool that you can sync two computers playing the same piece on two different computers. So it's really an interactive performance. And I mean, we've done this in kind of large-scale dinners where you have been standing 30 meters away from me, and yet we have played on the same piece, synced the computers, the graphics, everything. That's pure magic.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest performances at Gasklockorna.
Yeah, that was the first one. And we kept on developing this kind of method working during all the dinners we have been working with.
Yeah.
actually.
But we have used the cubes at Stora Gasklockan many times,
Yeah.
I think, for the biggest events we have made.
The cubes are always have some kind of visual appearance, and we made one concert at Rådhuset in Gävle, at the City Hall, where we had the cubes, and around us we put 8 or 12 lights. And it's the same thing there that we triggered every sound that we are played was synced with one lamp.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a minimalistic piece which had a couple of notes, not very many, but it was very inspired by Steve Reich type of music, where we keep building notes on top of each other, and every single note is represented also by a flash in a light. And it's kind of it's a pretty long piece, very minimalistic, but when we have that connection to the lights and that you actually see what's happening, what you can hear, then it gets to be kind of a very mindful piece, very meditative, and you get into a certain mood after you hear these few notes after a couple of minutes, repeating, building new patterns, and get a little bit out of each other in timing, so we get a kind of frequencies between the notes as well.
Yeah, and in the end, the two will meet, so to speak, in the same note.
Yeah.
And it kind of stops where it started, one can say. Yeah.
And the idea about this piece is also that as soon as we enter a new note, that note will be stuck there for almost the rest of the piece. So you have to be really, really careful when and how to enter next note.
Yeah.
Because if you regret it, you can't just undo it.
No.
Then you have to live with it and maybe build something new around it. Well, we have been working with the cubes for quite some years now. And we have lots of new ideas for them as well.
I think we have this one piece we want to develop.
Yeah.
And make some other arrangements and build it up to something even better, I think.
And also changing a lot of the technique using under the hood. We have started experimenting with different kinds of technical solutions. So maybe there will be kind of Cube 2.0?
Yeah. That would be very true.
But you never know when, I guess.
Well, this was the first instrument talks from Moneo, and we will be back soon with another one. See you. Bye.